Welcome to the Jewish Roots Life Group. I am Steve Wright, your host, and enjoy this journey with me in increasing your Christianity, your faith, by looking at it through a totally different lens, a Jewish lens. And we'll be taking this journey together and discovering our roots of our faith. All right, shalom, y'all. Welcome to the Jewish Roots Life Group. I'm Steve, your host. And let's get first things first. The first thing is here, the goals and objectives of this class. First goal and objective is to introduce, this is for me, is to introduce the tabernacle and all its pieces. Also describe each piece, its function, along with its application, which means what does it mean for us today? Reveal any and every aspect that points to Jesus, because that's the whole purpose of the tabernacle. It all points to Jesus, the Messiah. Develop a deeper understanding of its whole purpose, and ultimately draw a closer presence to God. Now, that's the goals of my goals and objectives for all of this. Now, here's the goals and objectives for our life group here. Grow a desire to study and know more of God's design. And when I say God's design, I mean God's design in everything. When you look at a flower, when you look at a spider web, and say, oh, look at God's design and all that and His purpose, including the tabernacle. Explore and enjoy Jewish roots of all these designs, because I'm sure if you see something somewhere down the line, the Jews had the same idea and the same concept. You just got to explore it and find it. Move into a greater spiritual maturity as we grow and as we understand what's going on. Worship in spirit and truth. That's why Pastor Galen had the Songs of Ascent, to enhance worship so we can worship in spirit and in truth. And the ultimate goal, draw closer to the presence of God, because the whole purpose of the tabernacle was to get to the presence of God. So that's my objectives for the class. This is the life group's objectives for us. Clear as mud? This is the most important one. This is what I'm hoping that we will really get to the presence of God. That being said, I forgot to present you with one of those. The silver shekel that you have, I passed one out to everybody, and here it is. This is in Exodus chapter 30, verse 11 through 16. And I've highlighted in different colors what we're going to be going over. The Lord said to Moses, whenever you take a census of the people of Israel, each man who is counted must pay a ransom. Hint, hint. There'll be a test over this. No, I'm just kidding. For himself to the Lord. Then no plague will strike the people as you count them. Each person who is counted must give a small piece of silver, like the one I just gave you, as a sacred offering to the Lord. This payment is half a shekel, based on the sanctuary shekel, which equals 20 gerahs. And you say, what's 20 gerahs? Well, it's the opposite of 20 boyas. Just kidding. 20 gerahs. Gerahs is a unit of weight. It's how much something weighs. They used a gerah to weigh. So the gerah is how much this weighs. All right. This weighs 20 gerah. All who have reached their 20th birthday must give this sacred offering to the Lord. When this offering is given to the Lord to purify your lives, making you right with Him. Some versions use the word righteous. This is where we get the word righteous, righteousness, to make you right with Him. The rich must not give more than this, and the poor must not give less than this. Receive this ransom money from the Israelites and use it for the care of the tabernacle. I will bring the Israelites to the Lord's attention, and it will purify your lives. Now that's what the text says. Now let's go over the parts that I've highlighted. First one is must pay a ransom. So somehow this is connected to ransom. And they had to pay it. Going on down, we'll get to the gera, the weight, in a minute. This is to purify your life. How can a ransom purify? And make you righteous or right with Him. And the rich can't pay more than this, and the poor can't pay any less than this. In other words, everybody pays the same. Everybody got the same, right? Everyone in here got the same. That means something. So it's a ransom, it's to purify, and everybody pays the same. It means the same to everybody. And it was to take care of the tabernacle. Now then, what is a gera? It's called in Hebrew Shekel HaKodesh, and what that means is it's a unit of weight for the Hebrews. This is what it was called. In some versions, like the King James Version, it's translated as the shekel of the sanctuary. And in the New English Bible, it's called the shekel of the sacred standard. And it's 20 gerahs to the shekel. So each shekel weighs 20 gerah. All right? That's according to Exodus 30:13. Now, a gerah is 0.56 grams. So if you have 20, a shekel weighs 20 gerahs. You multiply 20 times 0.56, and you get 11.2 grams or 0.395 ounces. So this coin is pure silver and weighs 0.395 ounces. So you're with me so far? I know this is kind of technical, but it's going somewhere. All right, so you've got the 20 gerahs is the weight, and you also have, this is the shekel. All right, so this is a reproduction. It's not the real thing. All right, this is about half the weight, and it's not real silver. But this is just a representation to see. It's the same size. It has everything exactly the same except for the weight. This is not 20 gerah. This is about 10 gerah. But anyways, here we go. All of this means something, obviously, because I know somebody in here loves to go by the numbers. Silver shekel. Silver, this is important, is symbolic of redemption. So anytime you see silver from here on out, it will symbolize redemption. It took 5 shekels to redeem the firstborn son from the priesthood, as in Numbers 18:16 says. So if I have a firstborn son, I am obligated to send him into the priesthood to become a priest. If I did not want that to happen, I would have to pay 5 of these to redeem him from the ministry, to buy him back. Does that make sense? So that's what that's saying. This was also used to pay the tax to enter the temple. It was also in Matthew 17:27, they came up to Jesus and accused him of not paying the temple tax. And Jesus told Peter, he said, hey, go catch a fish. When you catch the fish, open its mouth, and you will find this in its mouth. That's what Peter did, and they used it to pay the temple tax. I know it sounds fishy, but it's true. It was in Matthew 17:27. There you go. So yes. And this was also the one most famous that everybody has heard of. This is what betrayed Jesus. Judas used 30 of these to betray Jesus. All right, same coin. 30 silver shekels of redemption. All right, this is from Matthew 27. I just alluded to Judas, and here it is. First, I'll show you that Judas goes to the priests and they bargain with him, says, hey, we'll give you money if you show us who Jesus is. And he says, okay, the one I go and kiss on the cheek, that's the one. So they go, kisses Jesus on the cheek, they arrest him, and then you know what the rest that happens to him. Then they gave him the money for doing it, and he had a change of heart, and when he did, just happened to have here, by the way, this is 30 of them. This is what it would have looked like. So if you wanted to know, that is what would have betrayed Jesus. So Matthew 27:5, then Judas took these that he just betrayed Jesus with and threw them down into the temple court and went out and hung himself. The leading priests picked up the coins and said it wouldn't be right to put this money in the treasury. They said since it was the price for blood, it was blood money. After some discussion, they finally decided to buy the potter's field, and they made it a cemetery for foreigners. That is why the field is called Field of Blood, which is what it's called today. This fulfilled the prophecy in Jeremiah, which says they took the 30 pieces of silver, the price which he was valued by the people of Israel. So in other words, this is what the people of Israel valued Jesus at. 30. And purchased the potter's field as the Lord directed. So wait a minute. Let's get this straight. There has to be something to this, or obviously I wouldn't be here trying to teach it to you. This was valued by the people. This is what the people said. And this is, the Lord directed this. This was all directed by God. What does it mean? By the numbers. 600. For those of you viewing, Hebrew words have numerical values associated to them. For instance, the word Torah and the word Messiah have a number associated with them. Each letter of the Hebrew alphabet has a number associated with it. And sometimes when you take those letters or words and count them up to a certain number, this is what you would get. So that's why we're here. 600, watch this, 30 shekels weighing 20 gerahs each, right? Remember, each one weighs 20 gerah. You have 30 of them. What's 20 times 30? 600, right? So this would be 600. With me so far? 30 is the number associated with divine service or sacrifice or blood sacrifice. So that leaves us 20. Here's the 30. That leaves us 20. 20 is symbolic of redemption. So the people decided what Jesus was worth. And without knowing it, the people decided that his divine service, his blood sacrifice, would be for their redemption. It also, 600 is also associated with the word in Hebrew tzitzit, which is the tassel on the talit, the prayer shawl. It has the little tassels at the bottom. The tassel has 600 numerical value. And you say, so what? That's why when it says Jesus brings healing in his wings, in the tassels, the woman with the issue of blood, when she reached out to, says, touch the hem of his garment, what it was really saying was she touched the tzitzit, the little tassel hanging down, because there's healing in his wings, as it says in Isaiah. All right, so what's that got to do with anything? Let's keep going. It also is the word in Hebrew that the Greek gets the word cosmos, which means unites heaven with earth. It brings them together as one. So, his divine service in blood, his sacrificial blood, 30. Brings us redemption, 20, so that he can bring healing in his wings to combine heaven and earth. That's why when we say on earth as it is in heaven. You see there's another number over here. 160. 160, the Hebrew word for silver is the numerical value of 160. The Tanakh, or the Torah, the first five books, Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, Deuteronomy, is the Tanakh. It also has the numerical value of 160. Now watch this. Here's where it gets really interesting. Divine service, sacrifice, redemption. All right, this silver here, silver means redemption. Remember that? 30 was his blood, 20 is redemption. Watch this, 160 also has a numerical value in Hebrew of tree. So how was his blood shed? On a tree, the cross. And guess what happened on that cross? He took our curse of sin, which is also in Hebrew 160. And also 160 meaning that he bought us back or redeemed us by offering himself as a sacrifice. Now I'm looking around and some of you are like, whoa. Yeah. So do you see how everything means something so far? And we haven't even gotten to the tabernacle yet. We're still on the coin. All right, so that's by the numbers. Now, this is a Google Maps. This is an aerial photo of the potter's field or the field of blood that was purchased with what Jesus was betrayed by, right? Here is the Dome of the Rock that everybody's familiar with. And you can see in close proximity right here is the potter's field just south of where the Dome of the Rock is. And right here would be the eastern gate. Right here is the Garden of Gethsemane. And so from here to here is 10, 15-minute walk, no big deal. Why am I showing you this? Because remember what we saw, what the devil meant for evil, God turned around for the good. This was meant to betray Jesus, but it bought a cemetery for the foreigners. Who were the foreigners? Anybody that wasn't a Jew. So if a foreigner came to Jerusalem and they died, this is where they would be buried. Guess what? They're in Jerusalem. This is showing that the blood, money, the sacrifice of Jesus, the redemption, is now going to make the foreigner, the Gentile, draw near to Jerusalem to where everything is going to be. So the Jew and the Gentile are now becoming one through the blood of Jesus. I can see. Woo. All right. What does it mean? I told you that silver is symbolic of redemption. 30, the divine service or the blood of Christ. 5 books of the Torah. And the fivefold ministry. Fivefold ministry we'll get into in just a little bit. All right. The 5 shekels to redeem the firstborn from ministry. Right? The number 5. When you had David and Goliath, how many stones did David get? 5. There are 5 books of the Torah. Right? Fivefold ministry. We'll get into that in just a minute. 5 commandments. And you say, wait a minute, what happened? I thought there were 10. There were 5 on one tablet, 5 on the other tablet. Right? That's sneaky, right? So there were 5 commandments on 2 tablets. Old Testament, New Testament, Jew, Gentile. Are you starting to see how it all... 5 types of sacrifices. We'll get into that in about 3 weeks. On day 5, when you look in Genesis, day 5, the sea creatures and the birds were created on the same day, symbolizing that everything in the heavens that flies, everything in the ocean is now meeting to become one on one earth. 5. So you're with me on the number 5. All right, now let's get to the tabernacle. How many people do you think were led out of Egypt? And they get to Mount Sinai. Moses gives them the 10 Commandments after he just said, "Let my people go." Charlton Heston. So, how many people do you think there were? Let's find out. Moses and the priests were 22,300. It's like, that's a lot of priests. But wait, there's more. Numbers 1, 44 through 46 is where he counted all of them, and you had to count all the men that were over the age of 20 and able to go to war. So if you were a male over 20 years old and able to go to war, at this time there were 603,550. That's according to Numbers 1:46. So there were over in between 500,000 and 750,000 males that were over 20 ready to go to war. You say, okay, so what? All right, we're getting there. And that was from all the 12 tribes. The current population of Nashville, Tennessee, as of 2020, was 1,249,000. Let's just say 1.25 million to round it out. All right. That's the population of Nashville. All right. Some rabbi scholars put the estimate of the Israel people coming out of Egypt at 2.5 to 3 million people. That's double the size of Nashville, where we are. Okay, so let's put this in perspective. How much sin is in Nashville? So, double Nashville, double the sin. Now you know why they need 22,300 priests to offer sacrifices. So I'm just trying to get you a visual of how many people were here and why that's such a high number and to start with. All right, so here is Mount Gerizim, or however you pronounce it, and here's where the tabernacle was last known to be before the temple was built. So right when the temple was finished by Solomon, everything was moved from here to the temple in Jerusalem. This is on Mount Gerizim. And it's at a place called Shiloh. And I'll tell you the meaning of that. All right. Gerizim means in Hebrew, stranger or a sojourner, which is showing us that the tabernacle, all right, because we really today are the tabernacle of God, are a sojourner. We're a stranger here. This is not our home. We're just passing through. Right? This is never meant to be a permanent place. So how does it symbolize Jesus? When Jesus came, he was a sojourner here. He was just passing through. All right, this is what it looks like today. This is a map that we got in 2019. It was somewhere around in here. The tabernacle. All right, parts of it were modeled from the body. For instance, Exodus 26:19 mentions sockets. We have sockets. We have arm sockets, leg sockets, eye sockets. Exodus 30:18 mentions footings. Anybody who knows construction, the most important thing about construction is pouring the footers, the foundation. We have feet. We have shoes for a sure footing. Exodus 25:11 mentions the crown, which is the top of the head. Anybody, females had a kid, when the kid's fixing to come out, they say the kid is crowning. Why? Because they see the top of the head. Exodus 26:32 mentions columns and pillars. And we have a column, it's called the spinal column, that runs directly down the center of our body. So there's modeled from the body. The tabernacle has parts that are modeled from the body. Now, what did they use to measure with. They couldn't go to Lowe's or Home Depot to get a tape measure, so how the heck did they measure everything? Here's how. First one was the span. The span was the distance from the end of the thumb to the end of the pinky, approximately 7.5 inches, kind of like the hang loose Hawaiian symbol, right? That's called the span. The hand's breadth, more or less 4 inches, is from the knuckle here at my index finger to the knuckle here at my pinky. From knuckle to knuckle, that's the hand's breadth. Next one is the cubit that everybody loves to discuss. The cubit is the distance from the elbow to the tip of the middle finger. Rabbis to this day discuss which one is correct. You have the Babylonian, which is 19.8, the Egyptian, which is 20.6, the standard was 17.5, but most scholars agree that the Hebrew cubit was about 18 inches. So there you go. Here's the outer perimeter. Here's a picture of the tabernacle here. And before we start, I'm going to give you different terminology than what you're kind of used to. And the terminology is going to be this. This area here, I'm going to call the outer. This area here, I'm going to call the inner, because it's inside. And then this area here is called the holy. And you say, why am I doing that? Because a lot of translations and most people say this is the holy and this is the holy of holies, or the most holy place. Well, that's too many holies. And sometimes you get confused which one I'm talking about. So in order to avoid that confusion, I'm going to say outer, inner, holy. No confusion. Simple? I like to keep it simple on my terms. So outer, inner, holy. All right. You see the posts going all the way around the outside perimeter? They were acacia wood covered in bronze that had a socket base. There were 60 posts all the way around. You had 20 going the long way here, 20 going the opposite long way, 10 going the front, 10 going the back. 20 and 20 is 40, 50, 60. And of course, those numbers mean something. The Hebrew word samach is the 15th letter of the Hebrew alphabet with the numeric value of 60. How many posts were there? 60. Let's keep going. The root word of samach is to lean upon, support, or uphold. So you mean to tell me that God chose one letter in the Hebrew alphabet, the 15th letter, with the numeric value of 60, to stand for 60 posts, that means to uphold, support, or lean upon? That's just by circumstance, happen chance, right? The laying on of hands on the head by the priest for a sacrifice. The root word samech is when the priest went to lay the hand on the sacrifice. That was called the samech. All right? The priestly blessing is 15 words and 60 letters. The priestly blessing, he puts his hand on the sacrifice, gives it the blessing, is 15 words and 60 letters. The same as samech, the letter. Now you have the phrase, the whole phrase of the blessing is 15 and 60. Now watch this. The word samech has a numerical value of 120, and it means a double portion or double blessing from the former to the new. All right, so the tabernacle has, watch this, 60 posts all the way around. right? Now if you double it, it's 120, right? So if you want a double portion, a double blessing, it's 120. Now, watch this. A double portion. It says from the former to the new. How does the tabernacle a foreshadow of the Messiah, Jesus? Because Jesus is our double portion, our double blessing. He's going to take us from the former to the new, from the old covenant to the new covenant. 120. And I'm going to throw this in for free. When Solomon dedicated the temple, when it was finished being built, there were 120 priests blowing shofars. Oh, but that's the former. Let's move into the new. Jump on over to the book of Acts chapter 2. When the Holy Spirit came, how many were in the upper room? 120. From the former to the new, a double blessing. All right, what do the pillars represent? If you go back, and I didn't show this, but if you go back, and now let's go back, why not? There are pillars here, here, and here. You have it on the very, very entrance. You have it going into the inner, and then you have it right here going into the holy. All right. 1, 2, 3 places. All right, so on the very, very beginning, it's 4 at the front gate. 4 gospels, or you could say 4 corners of the earth, north, south, east, and west, however you want to say it. It means salvation is getting ready to be for everybody. Then when you go to the inner, there are 5. We already went through the number 5. Fivefold ministry to begin when you enter. We're going to the fivefold ministry in a minute. The 5 books of the Torah, so on and so forth. Then there were 4 when you go into the holy place. And on the veil you see the ox, the man, the lion, and the eagle, which are all around the throne of God in the book of Revelation. And so they're surrounding the throne saying, holy, 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 and so on and so forth. That's what you get when you get to the holy place. We'll go over those in a minute. But watch this. 4, 5, 4. Here it comes. 4, 5, 4. 4 plus 5 is 9. Plus 4, 13. There are 13 pillars in total. 13 is the number for love. 1 Corinthians 13 is the chapter of love. 13 is also the number associated to the Echad, which is, Hear, O Israel, the Lord your God is one. And what it means is He makes things one in Him. That's 13, the Echad. Everything's becoming one in Him. So the tabernacle is showing by the pillars themselves how everything is going to become one in Him through love. Because the tabernacle shows you no greater love hath no man than this, than to lay down his life, right? For God so loved the world that He gave His only Son. 5 pillars, this is the fivefold ministry that I was talking about. When you enter the inner, that's where you get your calling. That's where you get your ministry. Your fivefold ministry is here in Ephesians 4, 11, and 12. He gave some to be apostles, prophets, evangelists, pastors, teachers. There's your fivefold ministry. 5 pillars when you're going in. For the perfecting of the saints, for the work of the ministry, and edifying the body. All to become one, all to work together through Him. This is a visual representation of what it may have looked like. This is an artist rendition of, here's the tabernacle. And this is by day. You have the cloud, the pillar of a cloud here by day. And what does it mean? Psalm 121. The Lord is your keeper. The Lord is the shade on your right hand. The sun will not strike you by day. Why? Because there's a cloud. The presence of God was a big cloud, and he protected you, right? The Lord will watch over your coming and your going, now and forevermore. This is what it may have looked like at night. At night it was fire, pillar of fire. I can't imagine being someone that's not a Jew and seeing this at night. A big cloud of fire going up from a tabernacle. I just can't imagine that. But that was the presence of God. Now, this is at Shiloh. That's me. And that's Rabbi Khan and his son. This is, like I said, this is where the Holy of Holies was. This is where the tabernacle of God was last before it went to the temple. This is a Jewish synagogue in the 1st century. This is the name of Jesus right here in a tile mosaic. In a 1st century Jewish synagogue, you have the name Jesus. I know you're saying, what? A Jewish synagogue with the name Jesus in the mosaics from the 1st century, from his time. It's just mind-blowing. So anyways, here's the best part. We're going to go back to this. All right, credit card. The blood of animals is like a credit card. The blood of Jesus cancels the debt. The blood of animals will cover the cost until a payment can be made in full. I know it's a lot of words. It's kind of, let me show you what I mean. All right, you go and purchase something. You put it on your credit card, right? I sin. The blood of animals is my credit card. I just put it on my credit card. It's covered, but it's not paid for, right? I sin again. I put it on my credit card. It's covered, but it's not paid for. I sin again, and again, and again, and again, until now interest shows up, right? And then it gets to a debt that I can never pay. It is so out there that I keep putting it on my credit card and it covers it, but it never pays for it, right? And now I have a debt that there's no way in this world that I can ever pay. And then Jesus comes along, sheds his blood on the cross, and guess what? It's canceled. He paid the debt that I could never pay. His sacrifice, his blood money, paid in full a debt that I could never pay. Now, how do you look at this? How do you look at your coin now? This is why I gave one to you, so you can look at it and remember, this paid a debt that I could never pay. The silver is redemption. The 30, it weighs 20 gerahs, which means redemption. There was 30 of them, which means his perfect sacrifice and blood. So I'm trying to get you to show you this because this was the whole purpose of the tabernacle. It was to show you to the Messiah, and his sacrifice is going to come to pay a debt that I could never pay. They offered sacrifices, animals. That was their credit card. The tabernacle sacrifice was a credit card. It covered it, but it didn't pay for it. And it's to show you that Jesus is coming, the perfect sacrifice, the Lamb of God, that will pay in full a debt I could never pay.